Okay, we're doing a uniform haircut. So I have the hair basically in 5 sections. I have the 2 back sections and my 2 side sections, and then up on top. Now, the reason this looks a little different is because I have all of the perimeter layer of hair taken out, and that's because that's going to be just my first initial guideline when I do this. A uniform haircut has a movable guideline everywhere, and every piece of hair is the exact same length. So let's start by making the perimeter of our entire haircut the exact same length. So let's start in the back, because I think on this mannequin that's going to be the shortest anyway, and we'll just stick with that length. So in the back, I'm not going to cut any length off here, but I do want to just measure how long this is, because every other piece of hair is going to be that same length. So when I comb this down, and this is still from our blunt haircut where we had this length here, you'll notice on your comb there should be numbers on your comb, and they go from 1 to 6, and that's a measurement. This is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. So when I take this back length, I know I want all the hair all over this whole head to be this same length as what I have back here. So if I put my comb down on the scalp, I can see that that's just about right at the 6 inches. Okay, so you'll measure the hair in the back and see where yours is, and that will be your measurement for all of the hair. You'll know it's the right length because all over the head your hair is going to be that 6 inches. Okay, so I don't want to cut it any shorter in the back, but this hair here on the side is clearly more than 6 inches. So all of the hair on a uniform haircut is going to come straight out from the base of the hair. Okay, so when I have this, my elevation is going to be 90 degrees from the head. So this is my first guideline, and I'm going to take this hair out at 90 degrees from the head, and I want this all to be the same length as that bottom piece, which when I measured that on my comb was 6 inches. So I'm going to use that bottom corner for my guide, and I'm going to cut this perpendicular to the head at a 90-degree angle. So now I want to make sure that that is the right length. We determined that that was 6 inches, so I'll take my comb, and that's 6 inches, so that's great. So then we're going to move over to the ears, and this has to be held 90 degrees from the head, straight out. I still have my guideline from the other side, but I do want to just double check that I'm cutting this at 6 inches. Perfect. And there it goes, and we'll just follow all around our perimeter so that our entire perimeter of this haircut is 6 inches. Just have to continue wetting to make sure that it stays an even dampness. Okay, so we've gotten our 6-inch perimeter all the way around our client's hairline. So that's going to help us to keep on track. We're going to go right into the back, and we're going to take down the back section here. And I just want to take the bottom section and pin up the back, because if I take all the back out, it's going to be too much for my fingers anyway, and it'll just get in the way. So we'll just make sure we've got just the back section rest of it out. Now when we do this, we want to be doing 90 degrees from the head. So that's our elevation is at 90 degrees. Remember that the head is tilted. So too do your hands have to be tilted. If you are holding the hair like this, that's not straight out from the head. Your head tilts, so you have to hold that, you have to be holding your fingers so that they're straight out from the head. This is not straight out, because you'll see if I hold this out here, if I held this hair straight out, down here I might get 6 inches, but up here I'm getting more like 5 inches. So you have to make sure that you're angling your fingers properly as well. You have to keep in mind the curve of the head. So we'll take our first section of hair. We should have our perimeter in here as our guideline. And we should be able to pull this out 90 degrees from the head. Make sure that we have 6 inches. And this will be my guideline for this back section of hair. Okay? So always move the mannequin so that you're straight on with the mannequin for the section that you're cutting. Take your next section, which is just 1 or 2 centimeters. Take out that first section. You don't need that anymore. This is a movable guideline. You're moving all of the hair to this next section. Hold that out. You should always be able to see your guideline and cut that hair exactly to the guideline. On the uniform haircut, you can always make sure you're at the 6 inches as well to make sure you're on track. Then take down another section of hair. Keep with the guideline right before it. Comb that section out. So these are nice, clean sections on your mannequin. You should always be able to see those nice, clean sections. Cutting straight to your guideline and continue. Okay, before we go on from our back section here, back at the nape of the neck, we want to make sure we cross-check. If we've cut a crooked hairstyle here, we don't want to keep going with this hairstyle. So if we took our vertical sections, in order to cross-check, we need to take horizontal sections. So remember, take nice, clean sections, hold that hair straight out, and that should be pretty even. If you see a little bit of jaggedness, that would be pretty normal because you have to move on a movable guideline. If it's a little bit jagged on the ends, that would be a fairly standard piece because you do have to move that guideline. But you shouldn't see a big jagged edge. And the only reason you'd see a big jagged edge is if you took your sections too big or if you weren't following your guideline. Otherwise, it should come out and it should be fairly clean. If you're way, way off, you're either going to have to go back and, I mean, if you're way off because some sections are longer, well, that's okay to be able to cut them shorter. But if you're way off and your sections are quite a bit shorter, this is where you're going to have to make sure you're asking your work experience stylist to help you out and help you get back on track with your haircut. Because pretty quickly you could end up with a bald mannequin if you've not followed your guideline and you think in your cross-check you cut a little here and a little there, and before you know it, you've got nothing left, okay? So now this is a nice, even, uniform section. Every piece of hair that I pull out is the 6 inches. So now I'm going to move up into my top section in the back, and it's the same thing. We've got a uniform section of hair. We're going to be taking vertical sections so that when I take my first vertical section out, I have some of my guideline already in there. I'm at 90 degrees from the head. I'm making sure I'm at that 6 inches. I have my guideline from below to make sure that I'm on the right track. And then I have my first guideline. And you can move that. Actually, I'm going to take this all the way up to that section. Longer section. Remember, 90 degrees from the head. And 6 inches, you should see the beginning of your guideline. You can always check to make sure you're 6 inches. Oh, I think I'm getting quite a bit longer than 6 inches. I'm at 6.5 here. So probably what's happened is I've angled my fingers too far out and I haven't actually done the true 90 degrees to the head. There we go, back on track before I moved on. Now, if I hadn't have checked that right at the very beginning, I would have taken that extra length of hair all the way through the haircut and it would have no longer been uniform in the end. Okay, so take down your next section of hair. This in 2 parts. Remember, on a movable guideline, your guideline always moves to your new section of hair. I can see my guideline right there. And I'm cutting the hair to that. And 90 degrees from the head. Remember, this 90 degrees, by the time I get to the top, 90 degrees is going to be straight up, right? So I can't continue to keep moving this hair and pulling it straight back here, because this top hair will have had a lot more room to travel than the bottom hair, and I'm going to be getting quite a bit longer hair on top rather than in the middle, and I want it all the same length. So make sure you're paying attention to the curve of the head when you're doing your 90 degrees. Okay, and you can drop that first hairline, that first guideline, because you have a new one. Make sure you're taking nice clean sections, combing the rest of the hair out of the way, moving the guideline to the new section of hair. Make sure you can always see your guideline. There. And make sure that you're always holding the hair at 90 degrees to the head. Now let's just double check. 6 inches. I think what I have is just a slightly longer piece. Yeah. I must have slightly got a little bit longer. I had a piece right there. Here we go. Back to 6 inches. And we're going to continue doing this for the entire back section.
Okay, now that you've done your entire back section using vertical sections, you need to go through and cross-check using horizontal sections, making sure you haven't had any errors throughout the back haircut.
Okay, we finished the back. It's a uniform cut in the back. We've done our cross check. We did our original cut where we had our vertical guidelines, and when we did our cross check, we did horizontal checks. And now we're going to move over into the side of our hair. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the side. We're going to do vertical sections, 90 degrees from the head, making sure that it's following our guideline and that we can always check to see that we're 6 inches on the comb. And once we've done that, we'll do that to this side, and we'll also go ahead and we will do it to the other side, and then we'll move to the top. And this is where you'll have the guideline from your perimeter that we cut right from the beginning as well. There you go, so you can start to see your guideline in there. And you'll just cut it exactly to your guideline. And when you're starting on your new section, you might want to just double check that you're 6 inches all around before you move on. So remember, nice, clean, small sections. You'll get a nice, clean cut that way. And it's a movable guideline, so your guideline is always moving to the new section of hair. Make sure you can see your guideline. 90 degrees from the head.
Once you've gone through cutting the side, make sure you go back now and cross-check using horizontal section.
We're on our final section, which is the top part of the hair. We're going from the fringe to the crown. And we're going to be doing this at a 180 degree, or we're going to be doing this at 90 degrees, straight out from the head. You already have your guideline from your perimeter that we did originally, so that's your 6-inch perimeter, and we're just going to move back. We're going to take our nice clean sections. And we're going to be moving the guideline to our new section. Make sure you can always see that guideline. And then you'll cut. And take out the original guideline and move back. Now, we are holding this hair at 90 degrees from the top of the head, but the head is a bit curved. So we are going to have to go back and adjust for that. We'll adjust for that when we do our cross check of the crest of the head. And what's going to happen when we look at the crest of the head is we will see some corners, rather than a rounded full 6 inches everywhere on the head. Now let's cross-check here and see how we did. See if there was some sections that we missed on top. So we had, we did our original cut with sections going the other way, so we're going to cross-check going the opposite way. Oh, and we've missed a section here, and that's the kind of thing you can expect to see, and that's why you do a cross-check. So you go through there, and you'll notice any of those long pieces that you missed. Now as I'm coming back here, I'll notice I have a bit of a corner up here, and that's because I held this piece straight up rather than straight out. So as I'm going through into this crest area of the head, I can simply cut that piece off and blend it. And so I would expect that I'm going to see that throughout the entire crest of the hair in the back. Let's see. Yep, there's just a little corner right there, and that's because when I went through, I held that hair straight up to the ceiling rather than straight out from the head. It's just a little corner, just something for you to take off in there. There, blending that corner. And then we're going to move into the crest of the head. And this is the part where, in this blending area right up in here, you're going to notice a corner. Because for the top part, we pulled it straight up rather than out on the side. So this is our chance to pull it straight out. And you'll notice that there's going to be a corner there. Actually, a corner and a long piece of hair that got missed. So we'll snip that corner right off, and you'll notice that corner as you head through the entire, do your cross check of the crest of the area. This part here can just be blended in there. And we should have already, when we did our cross check in the back, we already blended that area once we got back here, so we shouldn't notice that that area, that corner needs to be blended here. It should already be blended. So we're just getting just to that last little bit. Good. And we already did our cross check here, so let's just go to the other side into the crest area. Straight out, and we'll find our corner, and over here it's not just a corner, it's a corner plus a bit of hair that got missed from cutting in the first place. So that's exactly why we cross-check, is to make sure we don't have those pieces still there. You can imagine if I didn't do a cross-check and I sent my client home and they got there and wondered what this long piece of hair was doing on that side of their hair. They're wondering what I was doing. So we cross-check just to catch any of those small little errors, and there's that corner we have to take off. There's that blending corner. And we're just heading right to the back where we've already done our cross check, so there shouldn't be too much blending as we move back here. We're good. And so we cross-checked every section as we went. We checked in through our blending areas, and we now have our full uniform haircut.